Calling All Authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, hosted by Robert A. Lane, is on the air, featuring everything you need to know about narrating your own audiobook. But it doesn't stop there. From special guests, including authors and professionals from the book industry, to sharing tools and techniques needed to be a confident and compelling narrator. The journey starts now. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hi, and welcome to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Robert A. Lane. I'm an audiobook coach and producer and specialize in helping nonfiction authors turn their fabulous book into a book that they narrate themselves. Because again, no one can tell your story better than you, the author. Well, today we have a very special show because of a very special guest. I'd like to introduce you to an awesome author, a person who, and this is an interesting transition, and we're going to talk about it, from being an electrical and computer engineer to an engineering professor to then becoming a fly fisher and writing books about fly fishing. That's pretty awesome. I love that. You also were, I believe your book, A Castaway in Montana, was picked up as the Michigan Notable Book for 2025, which is a great honor.
Yeah, one of them.
That's pretty awesome. And there's other things that I'm interested in that I saw on your bio that you sent me. You're a musician. I'm a musician. You play in a band. That's cool. I do want to talk a little bit about that. You're
Sure.
a runner. I'm a runner. I do enjoy going trail running as well. I love hockey. You play hockey. So it all works out great. So you've done a lot of fabulous things. Now you are an author of two books. I know you wrote a book called The Habits of Trout.
Mm-hmm.
And your latest release is A Castaway in Montana. Now, I do want to say that I love the title of the book because it's a cast away. Now, if you say it fast without somebody seeing the words, it's a great play on words. A castaway in Montana. How could you be a castaway? Oh, but you can be a cast away.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So was fly fishing something that you grew up with, or was it something that you discovered later on in your life?
Later on in life, I grew up fishing. My mom taught me to fish. She loved to fish. She grew up. She was born 1921, so she grew up in the Depression, and fishing. She enjoyed it, a lot of fun, but for her, it was the way we put food on the table. And I learned the most utilitarian ways you can fish, bobbers, whatever it took. We would fish it. I remember a friend of the family used a fly rod once, and I saw him do it, and I thought, my goodness, that's different. That's a whole different way of casting, and so speed forward many years, about 30 years ago, when we first moved to the Upper Peninsula, my wife went to an auction for a local art gallery. They weren't auctioning off art; they were auctioning off goods and services to benefit the gallery. And one of the people, a good friend of mine named Ray Weglars, he offered up fly casting lessons. And she bid on those, got them, gave them to me as a gift, and probably has slightly regretted that since then. But that's where it started, and I've took a while, a few false starts, but I have fished almost exclusively with fly rod for 25, 30 years.
Yeah, and I know that you are friends with my wife, Eileen, who is also a fly fisher. She started off tying flies first before before even going into actual fly fishing. But as a matter of fact, she just got back from Idaho, fishing in Idaho and Oregon with some of her fly fishing friends as well. So it is a great sport. And the thing is that I don't consider this, and I think a lot of people, I would say, don't really just consider it just a sport. It means so much more than that. Can you expand on this?
Yeah. There is, and you really learn that. So there's the physical activity associated with it and the mental activity associated with it, and both of those can be as complex as you want them to be. But unfortunately, the physical part can't be as simple as you want it to be. It's a complex sport. And I think one of the reasons I'm drawn to it, and I think a lot of people, Eileen, I think others are, you have to pay attention to details, and there's so many little details that it's a crazy combination that you can find yourself on the river and at one moment feel completely lost in your mind, but then realize you are paying attention to tons of little details all the time, every cast you make. And it's fascinating the way those two things can come together.
Yeah, I'm not very good when it comes to fly fishing. I think the last time I went fly fishing, I'm not really good in getting that fly tied onto the line. I think it took me about 45 minutes to get the fly on the line. And I made a couple of casts, and not more than 5 minutes later, I got my line caught in a tree, lost my fly.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow. There's definitely a skill involved in fly fishing. And what I do want to talk about a little bit more about a castaway in Montana. Was there a particular inspiration or something that prompted you to write this book? Because I know it's not just about this is me fly fishing. I mean, there are stories in this book.
Yeah. So when I went to Montana, so the book on the surface is about my first trip to Montana, and when I went to Montana, I had no intent to write a book about it. Sitting here in Michigan thinking about going to Montana, my first thought would be, if someone said, "Are you going to write a book?" Well, that would be too much of they call them Joe and I went fishing stories, right?
Right.
Where, and I don't know that people want to hear too many of those. There's plenty of them. What I did intend to happen through the trip, I was expecting, I write articles, so I thought, well, there should be a few articles that'll pop up here or there. I would have been surprised if I didn't come back with a couple of those. But along the way, things started happening that started connecting, bringing threads. I could sense themes developing. And the moment that I realized I might have a book, it was a very specific place. I was staying at the Sportsman's Motel in Melrose, Montana. It's just a little, I don't know, no more than 8 room motel near the Big Hole River. And I took out a yellow legal pad and started writing down the stories that I thought I was accumulating. And then I started moving them around in order. And I realized, wow, we're close to something that might be a book that people would be interested in seeing the complete story come together. And a little aside, I don't want to put too much into this, but I was asking a friend who was good friends with the author, Jim Harrison. And I said, I know Jim Harrison likes staying in that motel. I said, what are the chances I was in the room that he once stayed in? He said, perfect. He said he stayed in every one of those rooms. So, but that was it. It was there that I just looked back over the trip and I thought about what was still left. I was probably 2/3 of the way through. And I thought, you know what? I think there might be a story. I think there's enough conflict that's happening. I think there's a key theme. I think there's small themes. I think there's interesting characters, ups and downs, a lot of beats to it. So I thought, yeah, I think maybe there's a book here.
So the stories then are they only personal, or is it also things that other people have experienced while you were on your trip? It's just a combination of everything.
It's a combination. One of the things, and I think every writer, I think hopes for this, is that you tell a story in a way that someone will contact you and tell you how much it reminded them of their own story.
Yes.
And that's the best feedback I've gotten. I'll get emails and text messages sometimes from folks, and they'll tell me. Sometimes they'll say, I always wanted to do that. I still want to do it. Or others will say, tell me about their adventures, their times in Montana, or maybe it's another state, and maybe it's not even fishing, but something about it reminds them of their own. But yeah, there's stories of other people. I have worked in a few profiles of pretty notable people in fly fishing in general, and certainly in Montana. And then people that I came across that maybe no one except would necessarily know who reads the book, but I think they're still interesting enough characters. They like it.
Yeah, I think you hit on a very important point, and that is when you do read a story, and this is a great thing that authors are able to do, is that it does remind you about things of the past. It reminds you, and like you say, maybe it wasn't fly fishing, but maybe it was a fond memory growing up. Maybe it was something that you enjoyed with your dad going out on a trip somewhere, or whatever it is, and that really is a beautiful thing to be able to do something to get these memories to come back and enjoy, because again, it's about experience. When we leave this world, we leave this world. Right?
Right.
But the thing is that we have a great opportunity in our life to be able to have experiences. And I think that's really important. Now, fly fishing is really considered something that again is more than just a sport. I've heard so many people say, fly fishing is my religion, and the river's my church, and nature is my cathedral. So how does fly fishing affect you on a deeper level? Can you maybe expand a little bit on the connection of what it creates when you're out there on the river?
Yeah, we could talk a long time on this topic. This is the spiritual side of fly fishing, like the spiritual side of a lot of things. People find it running, for instance, is real. I mean, it's if someone tells you that that's how they feel, that's real. I think we sometimes run a risk of overdoing it a little bit on the metaphor of fishing. And sometimes maybe people feel when they put so much pressure on them. I didn't feel like I saw what life is about. And they're like, well, it might help you get there, but you got to do that yourself. That's going to come from inside you in the end. But I think that's it, that it's a place I can have very heavy things weighing on me. And when I shut the door and take the ride and go down to the river, honestly, for me, they're gone. Mm-hmm. I think of other things while I'm on the river, and I think there's other things that do that for people. They find it in other places, but for me, it's there, and my mind doesn't go blank. I think a lot while I'm on the river, and I sometimes find myself narrating the story. I see a bird catch a fly, and somehow I don't know who I'm telling that story to, but I'm telling them. And so there is something about it, and it's one of my heroes, a writer, a Michigan writer named John Volker. He has a piece of prose that's called Testament of a Fisherman. And one of the things that he highlights, that it's why it begins with "I fish because I love to," and let's see if I don't massacre it. I fish because I love to, because I love the places where trout are found, which are invariably beautiful, and I hate the places where crowds of people are found, which are invariably ugly. And I think that's the other piece, that many times when you go fly fishing, you're drawn to a place that's going to get that. It's going to bring the beauty out of your day, and I think that's a big part of it. It's very personal for others. I think some people find it on one extreme. There are people that will take it and turn it into a competition. They're counting fish, and they want to be able to. They'll be sad if you tell them you had a good day and it was better than theirs somehow. And I've never understood that. That's not a good reason to go fly fishing.
I agree. I mean, it took me quite a while before I finally caught a fish out here in Sedona. We're at Fossil Creek, I think went with Eileen, and she brought her fly rod with her, and I was never been able to, I was like the skunk king of Arizona.
Yeah,
you
there's
know
something wrong with that.
but finally I caught one, and it was like, oh, finally. But the first time I went fly fishing, and just getting back to exactly what you're saying, I went with Eileen on a trip to the fire hole in Yellowstone,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
talking about amazing place. And just even whether you were fishing or not, just to be in this wonderfully beautiful piece of nature, and then to stand in that river, and then to be, catching fish, it's like icing on the cake. But
it
really
is.
appreciating your surroundings is a
Yeah,
beautiful thing. Is there
yeah,
a, do
yeah.
you have, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I was just going to ask you, are there any favorite fishing spots that you like, or are there? And I guess the second part of that is, are there any places that you haven't fished yet that you want to, that are on your bucket list?
Yeah, there are a lot of those. I haven't fished the Firehole River. I back to favorite places. I I have this comes up in a lot of contexts where you'll ask someone, "Where's your favorite place?" And
Right,
it's the place I'm at, right? That's it.
right.
That's the one. And all of the rivers that I write about in a Castaway in Montana would be competitors for that. They were all wonderful places. I
Mhm.
look forward to getting back to every one of them. They're all very well known, so that's one of the risks a fly angling writer has to confront is, you don't want to be writing about someone's favorite river that they feel is a secret.
Yeah.
They're going to be upset with you. Uh, and some of my other favorite places are local rivers that are small and rarely fished. I tell people, they ask, are there crowds there? And I never see anyone. I'm disappointed if I see a footstep in the mud. Who was here? Uh, in regard to, oh my goodness, there are so many places. Every time I see, well, if Eileen posted something about where she's fishing, I would like to fish there. That looks so wonderful. And I have no experience fishing in the oceans, and
Oh,
so I
okay.
would love to do that. That's on a list. So little time, right?
Yeah, I know. So many places, so little time. We got to get them in.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely have to get them in. So now you live in the upper or northern Michigan, up in that area, and there's so you have some really nice places to go
Yeah.
fishing out there. Then that's great. That's great. Um, so what are you planning on maybe writing another book uh, that encapsulates some of the other adventures that you've had fishing?
Yeah, yeah. I've got, you always have projects ongoing, and I have some uh, getting enough essays that have been published in various outlets that, maybe take those and combine them with some new material and put together a book of essays that would not necessarily have one connection to all of the stories the way
Mhm.
Castaway in Montana does. So that's one possibility. I've got another trip that I'm thinking about, and I don't want to get ahead of it. I think one of the things that made A Castaway in Montana a pleasure for me to write, and I think a pleasure for people to read, is that it came up a little organically. I didn't set off to do it. I didn't feel like, okay, I'm going to visit this river, write about it in this one. I just went on a trip and later looked back on it and said, whoa, that worked. I've got another one of those that I'm thinking about a little closer to home. And the challenge is, how do you make it happen organically
Yeah,
and still plan it? So I'm thinking about that. And
that's
I
great.
I I recently retired from teaching at Michigan Tech, so I spend a lot of time writing now.
Ah,
Uh,
no, nothing wrong with
yeah,
that. It's always good to
yeah,
keep busy, right?
it is. It is.
Yeah. And, for me, running, because here in Sedona, Arizona, we got a lot of great trails. And it's funny, there are a couple of things that I thought about. First, I'm like, yeah, when I go running, it is very meditative for me. And you as a runner, I know you can understand and relate to that.
Oh yeah.
And then the other thing was, I was thinking when you're talking about, people being around, are there a lot of people when you're fly fishing? Like I have my secret trails
Yeah.
because Sedona is a very touristy type of
Yeah.
place, so you got to have your little secret spots where you can go running and know that it's not going to be just packed with tourists. So I get it. I
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. Well, to go back to that Testament of a Fisherman, one of the lines uh, that John Volker had, there's so many, every sentence is a great line, but one of them, and you'll relate to this, is, when he's out fishing, he says, only there can he find solitude without loneliness.
Yeah,
All right. There's a lot in that, huh?
there is a lot in that. Absolutely. Oh yeah, that's really great. Now I'm going to deviate just for a second. You play in a band, right? It's called? Is it Big Floyd? Is that what it's called?
Uncle Floyd.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Uh,
Yeah.
Uncle Floyd. Anything to do with Pink Floyd?
We're a local band play in the area, and the number one talent in the band is a man named Cam Williams, and he's a big Pink Floyd fan, does a marvelous job playing and singing Pink Floyd songs. So we're trying to figure out a name for this, and I write about and have told many stories about a really important father figure in my life, which is my uncle, whose name was Floyd.
Oh,
And so Cam came up with that idea, and he'll tell people it doesn't have anything to do with Pink Floyd, but I thought, man, I wouldn't have wanted to use the name if it didn't have that dual use. Yeah. So yeah, we cover some Pink Floyd for sure.
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'll have to get your mailing address and send you one of my albums or a couple of my albums because
Oh yeah.
my writing style uh, is like Pink Floyd meets Rush.
Oh yeah.
It's got that ethereal, cinematic, sound effects, even type
Uh-huh.
stuff in the music. I'll send you out a couple CDs. I'll definitely have to
Oh
do.
yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
that poster that's up on the wall, it's kind of hard to see there, but that was from a gig that I did at Cal State University Northridge,
Uh-huh.
and I did this gig out there, and part of the proceeds I donated to Project Healing Waters.
Oh no, that's so great.
So
Yeah.
again, this is another wonderful thing about fly fishing is that it is a healing sport. It is medicine for the heart and soul. I mean, again, an organization like Project Healing Waters, which
Yeah.
gets people involved into fly fishing, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. And again, going back to just being out there, being aware of your surroundings. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about fishing, sure, but it is more than that. It's definitely more than that. Um,
Yeah.
can you just explain a little bit for people who maybe are not really familiar with the art of fly fishing about some of the details that you need to be aware of in a sense when you're out there on the river?
Oh yeah, and that's when I help people learn to get into the sport, one of the things I tell them up front, and it takes a while for they understand what I mean by that, is line management.
Mm.
Everything you're doing, you have to be very aware of all aspects of your line, from the fly line, the thick part of the line, to the leader, to the tippet, and where it is, casting, when you're fishing. It's new. It's very different to people that are familiar with other types of fishing. So that's going on. Um, the other thing that you'd mentioned earlier, that your experience with tying a fly to the end of the line, and that, you get a couple of fly anglers together and get them talking before long. They're comparing knots. Well, which knot do you use? Well, I like to use the Davy knot. Well, I don't like that one. And so there's an art to that. And the flies, as you said,
Yeah.
Eileen tide flies. That, my goodness, there's so much there. So it's endless, all aspects, and that's just casting, and then all the little trinkets. So many fly anglers. You look on in their bags and on their vests, they've got clippers and nippers and files, and there's so many things that are happening. So it's just an attention to detail is, I think, and it's what draws people to it, and it's that focus on all the little details. And maybe this sounds like a contradiction, that I find helps clear my mind. And maybe it's that I have tried, and I got to do this. I've got to learn to meditate at some point in my life, because I just know there's so much to be gained there. But, focus on your breathing, or get your mind off of all those things that are competing against you at that point. Fly fishing does it for me. So maybe I do know what it's like to meditate, and it just happens to me out on the river, and I don't even realize it's happening.
Yeah, that's just it's another way to meditate. You don't have to sit in lotus position and om, and
Yeah,
there's so many things. Again, for me, running, fly fishing,
absolutely.
even going on a hike. There are so many other things. People who, maybe authors who write, can be very meditative, with the writing process. There are so many ways to do that, and that really is important, to have that balance, that peace, that relaxation. Some of the things that I teach the authors who go through my audiobook coaching program, one of the first lessons I talk to them is about mindset, about being in the right frame of mind. You got to be focused in the present moment. You can't worry about the past or the future. You got to be in the right frame of mind before you hit that record button. It's the same thing with writing or anything creative. And there are ways to get you there. And I think fly fishing is a great way to be able to put yourself in a nice, relaxing state.
Absolutely.
Is there maybe one thing that you would say that kind of encapsulates what fly fishing means to you? I mean, that's kind of a big question.
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. You know what? And I think my wife will appreciate you asking this, because she might want to know the answer to that. It's this is going to sound a little corny. It's a way of life, in a sense. I mean, it's not a way of all of your life, but there's, when you meet another fly angler, you feel like you know them right away. You know something about them, and there's an enthusiasm for it. It's crazy to get so enthusiastic and so excited about something that, especially catch and release. I catch and release fishing, which is what I do mostly.
Yeah.
When you break this down and ask yourself what's exactly going on here, it's a hard thing to describe to someone who doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
It's one of the most interesting, fascinating, simple and stupid things that you can ever have in your life. It's all of those at once. I mean, it's fishing, but the one thing, it's a way of life. You're oh, you're a fly angler, right? People will define you by that,
Yeah.
and there's a probably good reason for it.
Yeah. And you did hit on one thing, and that is camaraderie.
Yeah,
It's a great group of people who have this common interest. And like you say, you can meet a stranger, yet you have this tie, this
right.
common interest. And that's such a great thing. So Tim, we're almost out of time. Again, my very special guest, Tim Schulz, who has written a couple of great books, The Habits of Trout, and of course, A Castaway in Montana. If people want to find out where they can get your book and find out more about what you do, and maybe read some of the articles and blogs that you've written, where can they go?
That's Tim Schulz, writer, all one word, .com.
TimSchultzWriter.com. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you joining me for the podcast, sharing about your book, talking about the fly fishing world. It's a great thing. I just feel that more people need to get in touch with nature, no matter how you do it, whether it's fly fishing or any other way. Get in touch with nature. It's humbling.
Absolutely.
And again, what I do after every podcast or broadcast is I always give a little assignment. And that is this. When you're out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment, because that small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's life, because you don't know what somebody's going through. And that little act of kindness can go a long way. So be good humans. Tim, again, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed having you on the show. Again, A Castaway in Montana is up there on Amazon. Grab the book and go to Tim's website at TimSchultzWriter.com. I hope I got that right.
Yep. Yes.
Perfect. And again, you can join us for another edition of the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I do appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much. We'll be talking to you soon. Take care, my friends.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode. And remember, only you can narrate your story the way it's meant to be heard.